down her face. I could tell that she was in so much pain. So I reached out for a hug and she came in and snuggled up. I told her everything will be better someday. I don't know who needs to hear this, but know that someday it will get better. I know life sucks sometimes, I don't always like mine, but I know that someday it will get better. I don't know who needs to hear this, but know that someday it will get better. I might not know much about you or what you're going through, but I know that someday it will get better.
Warning: this podcast features adult subject matter, adult language, and things not meant for children to hear. Viewer discretion is advised. You've been warned.
If it's Thursday, you're tuned into the only podcast guaranteed to never turn up on the Epstein list. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of appropriate ages, to the latest episode of the I'm No Joe podcast, the show where every armchair quarterback can feel like Eddie Bravo. Today, as like most days, I have got a glorious panel here with me to get into all the shit talking and shenanigans and fight announcements and fuckery that has trickled out the MMA pipeline since we saw you wonderful folks last. Before we get into all that fun and fuckery, first and foremost, gentlemen, how you doing over there?
I'm not gonna lie, I went through the whole day thinking it was fucking Wednesday, but it's Thursday, tomorrow's Friday. So that makes me a happy camper. Also, that tells me this week has drug on too much with my kid being home on spring break.
I bet.
Bullshit.
Bet.
Just ready for this weekend's fights. Yeah, and realizing that tomorrow is Friday is a good realization.
Absolutely. I'll take it. Better than the alternative. So with that being said, we are going to jump right into it here. We're going to kick things off the way that we like to with a little bit of news and recent events, fight announcements, fight cancellations, official rumor confirmations and denials, things of that nature, relevant in the fight world that have happened or at least come to light since we saw you wonderful folks last. Unfortunately, this week, we do have to jump back and talk about several things from last weekend that we didn't get a chance to cover because they happened after the show. First and foremost, I can't remember the last time it happened. It has been quite a fucking while, but Bruce Buffer made a live fuck up. It doesn't happen very often, but it happened, and it was a big fuck up. He announced Marcin Tybura as the winner of their fight when he did not win that fight, to the extent that Tyrell Fortune was leaving the cage and was on his way back to the locker room already, and they had to stop him and turn him around and walk him back into the octagon so that they could announce that he actually won the goddamn fight. It doesn't happen often, but it happened, and it happened fucking live last weekend in Seattle. So
A huge shout out to Tybura though. He knew he lost that fight, so when they reset it, he didn't even fucking argue. He was like, "Yep, I
there was
know."
no complaint. He handled it like a fucking pro. I say it all the time, man. Marcin Tybura might not be the best in the world, but that motherfucker's a great representative of good sportsmanship, win or lose. So
Yeah,
excellent
granted,
fucking handling of that.
to be fair, he also looked like shit that fight though.
Definitely looked like shit last
They're
weekend.
they're lucky they're lucky that Fortune came back to the ring because he was pissed when he
was
left the fucking ring.
rightfully, yeah, he was rightfully mad as fuck when he left the cage. So I agree 100%. They're lucky that he was agreeing to be amicable in that situation, because I'm a petty motherfucker and I
I'm
would not have been.
I'm not gonna lie. When I initially heard that, I was like, "Who the fuck are the judges this week?"
We instantly we were like, what the fuck just happened? Like, I don't think I heard that correctly, because that's not what we just watched. Yeah.
Somebody fucked up.
Yeah, no, that was a definite head scratcher for a moment there. And then you saw the beehive immediately take off, and people were fucking moving very quickly in and out of that cage right after Bruce said that. So they got it corrected fairly quickly, but man, was that a potential big fuck up that they saved. The other one that happened last weekend that I feel deserves fucking mentioning, apparently more so than the fucking company did, is the fact that Nico Price retired last weekend in that fight with Michael Chiesa. When the fight ended, they spoke to Chiesa. They ran a very nice fucking package, got me all fucking weepy eyed and shit. And then they cut the fucking commercial and ran the next fucking fight out. Nico Price was standing right behind Michael Chiesa with his fucking gloves taken off in his hands and told Cormier, I'm laying these down. And Cormier said, sorry, man, and walked out of the fucking cage because they were in his ear and said, we got to get the show rolling. Nico Price had been in the UFC just as fucking long. Maybe he wasn't an Ultimate Fighter winner, but he was right there with fucking Chiesa in terms of longevity in the UFC. He was right there with Chiesa in terms of some of the big name fights that he had been in the UFC. For them to not even give him a microphone to just say, thanks guys, it's been great, but I'm calling it a day.
To be fair, they mentioned it during his walkout that he was going to be retiring.
Right.
Nico Price.
Right.
And they made mention of something about how he decided not to say anything about it until it was whenever. So they didn't really have a chance to get anything set up for him. And
Yeah,
being
no,
as he took that as a last minute replacement,
yeah.
I kind of get it, but at the same time, you still got to at least give the man his fucking due. I mean,
That's-
he's been
that's
around
my
for a long time, but
Yeah.
I mean, the other part of that is was that kind of a jab at Michael Chiesa at the same time? Kind of fucking, kind of shitty of him to do that. But you know, I get it. When it's your time, regardless
Right.
of who's involved. But still,
Yeah.
there was a whole lot of fuckery going on with all that.
Yeah, no, my whole point was like, I get it, it's Chiesa's moment, but Nico took that fight on what, 4 days notice, 5 days notice. My man stepped up on less than a week to save your boy's retirement so you could run his big fucking, make everybody cry package. You can't give him 3 minutes on the microphone because he's ending his fucking almost 15-year career with the company at the same fucking time in the same fucking ring.
I don't think they should have
Give him
gave him 3 minutes.
5.
They should have gave him the amount of time it took to get tapped out in the first round.
Right. Right. Start the clock.
Because it wasn't fucking long.
No, it was not. No, and it wasn't a spectacular maneuver, but when it works, it works.
No, that was Chiesa being Chiesa. That's what that
Yeah,
was.
that's exactly what it was. You are correct, sir.
He went out. He went out with one of his traditional fucking get him to the ground and strangle the fuck out of him
Choke the
moments.
fuck out of him. Yep, he did exactly what he was known for, in my opinion. He went out the way that he wanted to be fucking known, so he got about as good of a retirement as he could have asked for, in my opinion. Yeah, no, I just thought it was a little shitty of the UFC to not even give Nico Price the microphone to say goodbye to everybody. So he's gonna gone off having retired via announcement through the fucking, announcer's desk as he's walking away. Could have been handled a lot better, in my opinion. But speaking of fuck ups and things that could have been handled a lot better last weekend, in my opinion, we didn't find out until Tuesday of this week. But last Saturday night, Casey O'Neill walked into the octagon with 2 left-handed gloves on. If you look at the highlight reel picture where she's nailing Gabrielle Fernandez with the shot that put her on her ass, you can see her entire thumb is exposed because it's sticking out the other side because it's a fucking left-handed glove on a right hand. They let her walk, get in the cage, get checked by the outside cage physician, and then get in the fucking ring and fight with 2 left gloves on, with no thumb coverage over here and an extra piece of leather hanging off over here.
How the fuck does that even happen? Like, that should have been rectified backstage as she was getting taped up.
Right? They tape your wrist up, they put the gloves on to try and make sure everything fits with the wraps. You should immediately go, oh shit, these are 2 left gloves. Somebody go get me a fucking right-handed glove. I fight in
But
3 minutes.
on the other side, how fucking gangster is that to say, fuck it, let's run it?
That's kind of the way that I looked at it, because I am not the biggest Casey O'Neill fan, but at the same time, she put that glove on in the back and went, we're fucking going. She walked out, she let the inspection referee look at that and say, nah, we're good. She climbed in the cage and beat Gabrielle Fernandez's ass with 2 left-handed gloves on.
I say good on her, but that is one gangster ass move to do that.
I absolutely agree. Yeah, that's the kind of gal that Casey O'Neill is. She's gonna go far. So leading into this coming weekend now, just this afternoon, we got the official assignment for the commentary crew for this upcoming weekend's UFC Vegas 115. It's going to be Michael Bisping, Paul Felder, and Dan Hellie from the weigh-in show. There is also another former CBS Sports female interviewer doing all of the pre and post fight backstage interviews now. No Megan O'Leary, no Charlie, fucking no Laura Sanko. Like, half of the people that were doing these jobs for the UFC are slowly and quietly being pushed to the side in favor of people who were doing this for boxing for CBS, which is where almost all of these people come from, with the exception of Dan Hellie, who was a producer and on-air goofball during the UFC weigh-in shows when they were doing those live. I'm not sure what they've got in store for next weekend at UFC 327, but I sure the fuck hope they get back to the core crew that we all expect. I doubt it, though. We'll see. It's Miami, so we all kind of expect a certain crew to be commentating next weekend, but with news like that for this weekend, who fucking knows at this point? That being said, last thing from last weekend, probably one of the most important things that happened last weekend. Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson officially got inducted into the UFC's 2026 class of the Hall of Fame. One of the longest overdue. I genuinely do not understand how he was not one of the first half a dozen people, period, inducted into the Hall of Fame. The fact that it took them this long, and he's been retired from combat sports for almost 2 years at this point. But this is absolutely one of those better late than never moments, because if anyone, in my opinion, deserves a fucking Mount Rushmore status in the UFC's foundational fucking wing, let alone in the fighter wing, it's Demetrius Mighty Mouse fucking Johnson. So
I think that had everything in the world to do with Dana White.
Yep.
Every fucking thing in the world. Because
Yep.
if we go back to just before he got traded to one for Ben Askren, Dana didn't want to pay him because, oh, well, he doesn't bring in the money.
He's not a needle mover.
11 straight title defenses.
Yeah. Nobody's
That
even
dude
come
was
close
an
to that.
animal. And one of the nicest fucking guys on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
Dana didn't like him because, well, he's not a big draw. Yes, he fucking was. To those of us who watched, lived, and breathed fucking MMA,
He was always a draw.
he's on the Mount Rushmore. He's fucking George Washington.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, he's fucking there. Well, maybe not George Washington. I'll go Gracie because he was the first Ultimate Fighter, and then he's probably Lincoln. Like he goes up in there real close, though.
Right up in the tops, yeah.
I'm just saying, the dude he's definitely on my Mount Rushmore of fucking MMA fucking legends. So
yeah, absolutely.
They shit on him for way too long. But glad they did it in his home state.
Right.
I
At
mean,
least they give him home court advantage to do that. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it only made sense, especially for the UFC to do it there, because you get a much bigger fucking booyah about it because you did it at his home rather than giving it to him when he deserved it years ago.
Right. Yeah. I agree. But speaking of the trade to one and one championship, we talked about it last week. One released their flyweight, or excuse me, their strawweight champion from her one FC contract and eliminated the entire division. Well, they did that quietly, and they apparently weren't done because over the course of the weekend, originally last summer was supposed to be a one championship event in Denver. Stamp Fairtex was supposed to headline it. Stamp got injured, had to have surgery. One championship canceled the event. They rescheduled it for this June. Over the course of the weekend, one championship quietly just canceled that event in June altogether. It is officially pulled from the one championship website, and Ticketmaster has it listed as an officially canceled event available for refunded tickets. There have been no less than a dozen different media outlets reach out to one championship to try and get some type of a comment on this to find out what the fuck is happening, what's going on here. Nothing. None of the fighters that were originally scheduled to book on that card have said a fucking word. Mum completely across the board. But based on some of the things that we have already learned about one championship and the troubles they've been having just in this, first 4 months of the year alone, these are not good signs. When you start cutting entire divisions and you release your big name champions from their contracts, and then you start canceling entire events that are literally international events looked forward to worldwide, not a good sign. Not a good sign at all. So we will definitely be keeping an eye over on the one championship boat, but it looks like it's starting to fucking sink officially here. We'll see. One of my favorite UFC signings in recent years has officially got an announcement now. UFC 328 coming up May 9th in Newark, New Jersey. We get to see the return of Yaroslav Amosov taking on Joel Alvarez in a very, very quick paced fucking move. The UFC is not letting him sit around, and they are not throwing him soup cans. They are putting him right into the mix, because if he takes out Joel Alvarez, you're looking at a potential top 10 contender at that point, and it's not going to be much longer before that man shoots himself into that title conversation. That's a bad Ukrainian motherfucker. That dude is a problem, I'm telling you right now. And the fact that they're putting him right up against Joe Alvarez in his second fight in the fucking UFC, obviously they can see it as well. So it's nice to see them finally putting someone on the fast track who deserves the fast track, where nobody's going to fucking complain. Because if he takes out Joe Alvarez, what the fuck can you say? 2 fights in, the man has proved himself every time they've given him a chance and looked great doing it potentially. So Yaroslav Amosov on the fucking rocket trail, baby. Here we go. Let's see how far that one can go. Kind of an interesting one over here. The Ronda Rousey card got an interesting one added to it. We learned last weekend that Nate Diaz versus Mike Perry is taking place in MMA on that card, which is one of the most exciting fights that they've announced to that card. To the surprise of no one paying attention, as soon as you saw Nate Diaz's name, you should have known this was coming, because we got the official confirmation yesterday that, you guessed it, Chris Avila is absolutely going to be on that card, and he is going to be taking on Brandon Jenkins in a matchup that could very well be way out of his fucking league, but he doesn't seem to think so. The rest of us kind of know it, though. But I'm telling you right now, that May 16th MVP card is actually looking to be one of the better MMA cards over the summer. Granted, half of these fights are way past their prime and would have been much more fun 5 to 10 years ago. But compared to the competition that's going head to head with right now, not looking too fucking shabby of an evening at that. So we'll see. That being said, couple of fucked up ones here to close it out. The first one, if you haven't seen the video, I encourage you to go watch it after you finish watching our show. Merab Dvalishvili went live for a little chat yesterday to let everyone know that he has a Harry Potter scar for a nose for the next couple of years, because he got it broken in 2 different places in training. And when he saw the doctor, they said, oh, yeah, we can absolutely fix that. It's going to require surgery and breaking it in 2 more places to put it back where it's supposed to be. And that's going to require a year of no contact recovery, no sparring, no running, no nothing, actual full recovery from the 4 breaks in your fucking nose as they reset your face. And Marab said, I'll wait. I'll do it when I retire. In the meanwhile, I'm going to have a crooked nose. I'm hoping to be fighting by the end of the summer. See you guys.
That is the most Marab thing ever.
It is so on brand, it hurts.
The
Literally.
best part is when they're like, okay, I'm formally trained in the medical field and I did x-rays and CAT scans. When they were showing the CT of his face and his nose, I fucking cringed so hard. I was like, I mean, you can obviously tell the deformity looking at him, but when you're looking at the internal structures, if you know anything about it, it's fucking horrendous.
Rough, dude.
Multiple different fractures. And like there's even a spot on his IG where he was talking to the doctor, and the doctor's like, we don't know if these are new breaks, old breaks,
Right.
or
These are the ones that
re-breaks
he's
of
actually
old
here
breaks.
for or something that happened years
Yeah.
ago.
It like his shit is so fucked up. And I like how he's just so nonchalant about it. A stupid
Completely
mistake.
carefree.
And he's like, stupid accident. Like, dude, you fight for a living. It's gonna happen. You're gonna end up with broken noses. But to his credit, he's had a fucking crooked nose since
The
he
whole
started
time.
fighting in the UFC.
Yeah.
So
When he
I
was
mean,
on looking for a fight, his shit was already fucking wonky sideways when he was dancing backstage and shit. So
yeah. So at this
Like,
point, you can't do anything except go. That's Marab.
if he's gonna wait till the end of his career, this man is gonna have a flat canvas as a nose.
Oh yeah, I know.
They're gonna have to.
He's going to be a rhinoplasty surgeon's dream by the time he actually goes to get it done, because they're literally going to have whatever the fuck they want to just shape him a fucking nose when they're finally able to go in there. Yeah, no, fucking Marab being the most Marab that he could possibly be. So I hope he never stops being that Marab because I love it. um, on the other side of that coin, though, we got word this week that it has, much like DJ's announcement, taken way longer than it should have if it was going to happen, but apparently it's going to happen. We got official confirmation. Colby Covington has officially filed a $50,000 lawsuit against Jorge Masvidal for the restaurant incident in Miami, citing that he wanted to file for 100,000, but that his lawyer advised him 50,000 would probably work out better. I don't know what to think at this point, but it is a thing, so I'm telling you guys about it. 2 more on the way out here real quick. Speaking of things that are well past their fucking prime, we know that Pacquiao and Mayweather are going to run it back again, end of the fall, beginning of the summer, way past it should have ever having been done, but they're going to do it again. Floyd Mayweather came out this week and said that because of his later schedule in 2026, potentially coming out of actual retirement for a professional bout, the fight with Manny Pacquiao in the rematch has now just been downgraded to an exhibition match, so it will not count for either of their records. To which Manny Pacquiao immediately came out and said, oh, no, 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 I have a contract that says that this is a professional bout, not an exhibition, to be counted on professional records, and my contract reflects it, so you have to honor that. This is a pro bout, Floyd. Have someone read it to you. Again, way past its fucking prime, and I don't think it's going to be nearly as entertaining as even they think it's going to be, but it's a thing, and it's happening, so I'm telling you about it. The last one we've got here before we get out of the news segment, pretty much every week at this point, when we get done with an event, as soon as the next news cycle rolls around, we get the list of fighters who lost or didn't perform well enough on last week's event and have now officially got their release from the UFC. We only got 3 of them this week, but they are 3 interesting names. The first one that got their official release from the UFC this week was the lady fighting nerd, Bruna Brazil. Not that she was doing the best, but she was the only lady from the Fighting Nerds, and Dana's already expressed how much he loves that gym. So it's a little interesting to see that they're willing to let Brazil go. The other one is Luana Carolina. Luana Carolina has missed weight in 4 of her last 6 fights, 2 of those resulting in fight cancellations, including the last one where she was supposed to fight 2 weeks ago, missed weight so badly they wouldn't let her compete if she wanted to because there was too much of a weight disparagement between her and her opponent at that point. Why they didn't just cut her then, I don't understand. This is one that's been long overdue. She never really showed that big time star potential worth keeping or worth making a fuss about to begin with, and then constantly had serious weight issues. She should have been let go when she fucked up last time. Waiting an extra week and a half, I mean, it's very UFC on brand, but what are you going to do? The last one I think is also a little bit surprising, but not for the reason that everybody else might. The can himself, Anthony Tricoli, has officially been let go by the UFC. And while I agree his performances have absolutely not fucking warranted him being on the UFC roster at this point, the fact that he is technically married to the current strawweight champion on the ladies' side of things would lead one to believe there might be just the slightest bit of favoritism allowed, or maybe, I don't know, dare I say, a little Dana White privilege. But no. It seems that Mr. Tricoli, Mr. Dern, if you will, has had his Dana White privilege revoked and has officially been released. So it's going to be interesting to still see him in her corner, but not in the octagon as a fighter. So we'll see how that works out for him going forward. But that is what I have got for news. Either you gentlemen have anything I might have missed this week?
Not that I can think of offhand.
Alrighty. Well, in that case, we've got to a point now where we had ourselves we had a nice casual corner going for a while, and Father Time is undefeated for a reason, because if you hang around with us long enough and you watch enough fights, we will beat the casual out of you and grind you into a hardcore lunatic like the rest of us. And unfortunately for our buddy Flintlock here, he has been hanging around long enough and he has been watching fights with us long enough that we have wore that casual streak clean the fuck out of him, to the extent that he is on his own combat sports fandom journey now and is intrigued and learning correctly about all the different things that make combat sports, all the key pieces, all the things that one would need to learn to make your next move combat sports, in a little segment that we call the next move with Flintlock.
No, you can't start the fight with sniffing butts. That's dog MMA is not a thing yet. Okay.
It sounds like he's got some canine MMA happening.
I was just explaining to Miss Demi over here, since she's been watching fights with us, that you cannot like MMA cannot start with sniffing of butts. It's tapping of hands. Dog MMA does not exist yet. But anyways, back to the segment here. Okay, so we talked about last time the double punch, because maybe I wanted to have a little bit of fun, and yeah, it is still undefeated. I watched a man get knocked clean the fuck out with a double punch. But irregardless, today I'm here to talk about one of the most criminally underused, underutilized, and least paid attention to moves that I've ever seen in the entirety of the UFC: the jab. It doesn't matter if you're left-handed or you're right-handed. Ones and twos are the same thing. I've now watched hours upon hours of MMA bouts, boxing, all that type of stuff with Mr. Meter here. And every coach will yell, 1-2, 1-2, 3, 1-1-2. And how many people you will see lead with the power hand and completely ignore the one. Now, there are people that do lead with that. And Mr. Douglas from this last UFC event itself completely knocked a guy out. He was out cold twice on his feet using a jab. The gentleman in the GIF that is being played used the jab to set up a head kick every time. You watch people go to sleep. It is criminally underused, and I don't think it's very appreciated. And I don't understand why. This used to set up kicks. You can set up level changes. You can set up the haymaker behind it. But nobody wants to use it. And I don't understand it.
The funniest part is that when Izzy was using the jab last weekend, he had Joe Pfeiffer Pez dispensering several points. And then for whatever reason, he decided he wanted to put his foot in the fucking tire and stand there and forget how to box. And it cost him. He was jabbing and it was working. He stopped jabbing.
He lost all fucking composure. No, like it wasn't just he stopped jabbing. He lost his goddamn composure in that fight. Look, I'll say it, and it hurts me to say this. He thought he was gonna style bend, and he did not style bend. He went in there and got styled on.
He had an old guy moment that every old guy has at some point where you go, "Oh, I could still do this," and then you try and go, "Oh, I can't do that anymore." And in his case, it happened with a dude standing across from him, allowed to punch him in the face.
You're not
And
supposed to block with your face.
what's even worse, that right there. Not only for the fact of fuck Joe Pfeiffer, but you let Joe Pfeiffer do that to you. Now, I'm not saying that either one of them wouldn't whoop my ass. I'm not claiming to be, an MMA superstar or anybody that knows anything about, fighting. But come on now, really? We're just gonna let shit like that happen because we get, you know, knocked off our balance a little bit, knocked off our kilter a little bit. We think we're gonna come in and not use the fundamentals. It is taught from almost day one. One of the things they teach you right after stretching. And everybody forgets.
Unfortunately so. Unfortunately so. I agree. Thank you very much, sir. Always appreciated. Now, normally we would have ourselves a young person in here to tell us about all the names that are going to be names before their names and all that shit, but he's got this thing called a job and they're making him close. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm just joking. I'm just giving him shit. The kid's actually closing this evening. He should be back with us next week, but we do have a couple of interesting names on this weekend's card that we are going to take a quick moment here because if nothing else, I do like to at least try to polish the turd up every week a little bit of a gloss. It's where, you might not be able to see your perfect reflection in it, but you could catch a glimpse of a gleam of light coming out here and there. And this card leaves a lot to be desired. That's the nicest way I can possibly put that. This card leaves a lot to be desired, but there are a couple of beacons of potentially shining light coming out of this shit pile. So, the kid did message me because he did know that he was going to have to work this evening. Obviously, the main event, everybody is curious how that main event's going to play out. Kid's very curious about the main event as well. And then, to the surprise of no one, if you've been watching this show or any amount of time, Ethan Ewing is his big contender of the card. If you saw Ethan Ewing's debut on short notice, it's hard not to look at that kid as a fucking contender as well. He's had a full camp now. He's known about this fight. He's here. He's confident. He's already doing media day. He said he's here to give the same result with a different surrounding than he had for his debut. So he's in the right state of mind. He seems to be, capable enough as a fighter. If he follows through and puts on a show this weekend like he did last time, that kid's going to have a rocket strapped to his ass in no time as well. So I completely agree with him there. He does have a couple of, or a can tender here. Tommy McMillan. And I agree because this matchup, on paper, maybe not the most exciting. It's a 9-0 guy versus an 11-4 guy. they're both fairly young guys, so just seems like another potential prospect. But the undefeated crew coming into the UFC lately has had a rough go of things, to put it lightly. Most of the folks that we have seen enter the UFC undefeated in the last couple of weeks, maybe last couple of months even, have had a real rough go at keeping that donut on their list. Tommy McMillan coming in 9-0. Do you get the bacon or do you lose your donut? I know absolutely nothing about Manolo Zucchini, other than that's a fun name. So we'll see how that one plays out. Big cans for the kid, to the surprise of no one if you've been watching this show or fighting for any period of time. Trayshawn Gore, absolutely fucking agree with the kid there 100%. I do not understand. I've said it before and I will still fucking say it again. I do not understand how Trayshawn Gore still has a UFC contract. I don't understand how he got one to begin with. I don't understand how he has stepped on his dick with both feet since they gave it to him, and he still fucking has it. If he gets his ass whipped this weekend, like everyone thinks he's going to, I do not understand how he will still have a job in the UFC, because he's starting to make Smiling Sam look like a fucking hero at this point. The other can for the kid, Thomas Peterson. Absolutely fucking agree. Another one, how did we get you into the fucking UFC to begin with? Why are you still here? What the fuck are we really doing? The problem is, just like I mentioned just a second ago, the guy that he is fighting, Guilherme Pat, is coming in with another donut on his record, 6-0, undefeated guy coming in. What are the undefeateds going to do this weekend? Rafael Esteban coming in against Ethan Ewing, coming in with his O. Going up against the professor, though, Ethan Ewing. He's going to have a real hard time keeping that O against Ethan Ewing, in my opinion. Everybody coming in with undefeated records, at least this weekend for damn sure, is up a fucking against it. There's some good ones here. I personally, I might be the only one here, but I am curious to see how Diani Barbosa versus Melissa Gatto pans out. I still think Melissa Gatto has more potential than she's had a chance to show us. She's had some bumps in the road, shall we say. But Diani Barbosa is not the most well-rounded fighter herself. She's got the heart of a fucking lion, and she's shown that. She don't like to quit, but heart only takes you so far in the combat sports world. So I'm curious to see how the Gatto fight plays out. I'm also curious about the opening matchup, and I might be one of 7 people in the world curious about that, because I want to see how Kai Kamaka III plays out in the UFC right now. Dakota Hope is another no-name guy that they are just throwing in there to give somebody to fight. But if Kai Kamaka can get his shit together, we've seen that young man have glimpses of fucking potential greatness. We've seen him stand on his dick, but we've seen some glimpses in that kid. So if he really is to the point where he has got his shit together and he's ready to fucking lock in, Kai Kamaka III could be a real fucking problem. He could be another fucking fluke and a waste of $20K for the UFC, and he'll be gone on the fucking release list next weekend. But there's just as much potential, in my opinion, for him to show up, have his shit together, I's dotted, T's crossed, ready to do some fucking work this weekend. So I'm going to be watching from the beginning of the goddamn fights, because I want to see how this one plays out as well. Fuck Trayshawn Gore. I will say I might be the least interested of any fight on this fucking card in the co-main event. I am so fucking tired of Verna Jandaroba being the new Holly Holm, because she said Tuesday in an interview that if she beats Tabitha Ricci, she expects the UFC to send her a contract for a title fight with Mackenzie Dern. After the effects of feeling like I thought I had just been lobotomized wore off for a second, I had to just realize that the problem is standing across from her is Tabitha Ricci, who said yesterday into a microphone that with a win over a former top contender like Verna Jandaroba, she will be undeniable for the next title shot to the UFC. Both of these girls, being the canniest of fucking cans, have their own egos so fucking overinflated, they don't think, they both expect a title shot contract sent to them with a win this weekend. Not only do I not understand how their egos got to that fucking rationalization, the level of mental gymnastics involved there should get a fucking Olympic medal, in my opinion. But the fact that this is the co-main event, that this is the fight that they are wanting people to get hyped about leading into the main, when we have Rafael Esteban versus Ethan Ewing right fucking there, UFC is UFCing so fucking hard all over this card. I will say I am curious about the main event. I'm not going to say that I'm excited about it. I don't believe that this is a main event fight, even for a UFC fight night at the Apex. I am a fan of Moicano. I am a fan of Chris Duncan. I don't think this fight is main event material. I get that we are in a hangover of hangover card situations with UFC 327 next week, and all of the good fights for the beginning of this year are kind of crammed into that card. We're going to have to do a serious fucking breakdown next weekend because there's all sorts of great shit to talk about for that one. And we kind of got the fucking coin flip version of that this weekend. This is all contractual obligation fights, and we have to put them somewhere in matchups. None of these, with the exception of very few, are actually intended matchups, things that are relevant in their division or relevant to the organization as a whole. There's a whole lot of, well, we've got 327 next weekend on this card. That being said, what do you think, TJ? What is worth shining on this card, if anything? Because I know there ain't a lot that you're going to be excited about.
This is a hangover card to a hangover card. How the fuck does that even work? Like, this card to me is like after they go and clean out a porta potty and they miss that one little piece of shit stuck to the wall. That's what we've got here. We've got something. It's not great. But I will agree with you on the Kai Kamaka the third. That is the one I will say things I'm interested in to see how it plays out. I'm not going to say I'm excited about it, but I'm interested to see how it plays out. Because he has shown some flashes of brilliance, and then there's other moments where you're going, what the fuck are you doing, kid? Granted, he's young, so he could pull his shit together, but I'm not gonna hold my breath. I'll say it right now. None of the ladies' fights intrigue me at all. None of them. Tresean Gore, Ozma Bokaev, however the fuck you pronounce that Russian name, please end him. Get him walking papers. I'm so sick of seeing Tresean Gore. Not a fan. Should never have made it. Another one that I'm going to throw directly into the fucking cans. And still wondering why he's still on the list here as well. Lando Venata. How is he still in the UFC?
I didn't even realize he was in the UFC, let alone on this card.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is they're giving him somebody like Darius Flowers,
who also doesn't belong in the UFC anymore. In fact, that should be a fight where they should have signed the contract that says, if you do not win, you get walking papers.
Yeah, that should be a loser leaves town match because Darius Flowers is the epitome of what we refer to as Dorito chip shaped motherfuckers. He is a full on wedge of muscle from his toenails to his titties, and there is nothing you can do about it except wait 7 minutes because none of those dudes do fucking cardio.
No. I mean, I want to say that there is some sort of contender on this list, but I don't see it. I laugh at Verna Jandaroba and Tabitha Ricci equally. Yes, Verna has stayed towards the top of the division, but she's also boring to watch. Tabitha Ricci is not going to beat her, which is even funnier. Especially after, well, if I beat her and she's a perennial top contender, I should have no problem getting a title shot. No, you'll get bumped into the top 5, and then you get your ass beat by the next in line. If you do win. Okay. I have one contender on here. One. Hanato Moicano. He made a hell of a run for a minute, and then has just proceeded to get his shit kicked in once he got to the top of the pack. I mean, he fought Makachev for the belt January of last year and got absolutely wrecked. Didn't make it out of the first round. Comes back in June thinking you're going to take out old man Dariush. Doesn't happen. Hanato has what it takes to be in the top 10. I don't ever see him getting a belt, especially not when we have going on at lightweight what's going on at lightweight right now. And how the fuck did Christopher Duncan pull this fight? I mean, to be fair, he did take out T-Rex last year in December. So he's coming around 4 months off. But, I mean, anybody who watched T-Rex fight recently will know he's a get or get got motherfucker. He just so happened to get the get this time instead of get got. So it's not surprising that he beat it. But, I mean, to be fair, the dude's only loss in the UFC was in his 3rd fight in. And as a journeyman fighter coming into the UFC, if you don't lose one in the UFC, when you get towards the top, shit gets real sketchy. So it's better that you lose it when you're down towards the bottom where he was. I mean, maybe it's this string of wins that he's been on, because I think he's on like 5 in a row right now that's gotten him this fight. If he does win this fight, yeah, that'll throw him up into the top 15. I don't think he's going to break into the top 10 with this fight. But this fight as a whole it's not a contender fight. It's not a contender fight. To be honest, that fight can be thrown in the trash. The reason for that is it's no win, no matter what happens. Neither one of them are going to. You're either going to get a little bit more of a rocket boost out of Duncan, and you're going to see a lot more of him, or you're going to see Hanato just stay right where he's at, because beating an unranked guy in Duncan doesn't do anything for his stock. The best storyline to come out of this is they train out of the same gym, cut weight at the same fucking gym. Question is, who gets what corners out of the gym? And to be fair, they both said it. This is the fight game. Things like that are going to happen. Unless your name is fucking Marab, and then you wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait until your teammate decides to leave the weight division before you go and fucking get the belt. To be fair, he still went out and got the fucking belt, but that would have been a lot more interesting fighting your friend. I'm just saying. But, you know, I'm not saying Chris Duncan and Hanato Moicano are friends. They just train at the same gym. They use the same fucking sauna. They're using the same fucking trainers. But as a whole, the best thing we have to look forward to this weekend is that there's fights this weekend. They're not great. I won't say any of them are terrible. There are some terrible people that I want to see lose. But I mean, we're getting UFC caliber fighters for the most part. And I am very specific on the for the most part there because, well, Some of them I don't think are UFC caliber. They just got lucky. But even a blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. And even the sun shines on a dog's ass every now and then. Whatever you want to say, it's all the same thing in this case. But we got something to look forward to as there's fights this weekend. And we're T-minus 1 week away from another numbered event where there's a little bit more going on. Actually, no. I'm just going to do a brief mention of this because how far the mighty have fallen. If you look at next week's card preemptively, the person opening that fight formerly fought Izzy for a title. If you don't know who it is, go look it up. I'm not going to tell you. But oh, how they have fallen when they're the ones opening the card on the prelims. But the rest of the card is fairly decently stacked for us not having to pay extra for it. So, not to mention we get a first title defense out of somebody, but, maybe that's why they're just feeding us this baby food mush before they feed us the T-bone next week, Actually, I can't even state the fucking T-bone. It's not even, it's not porterhouse worthy. It's more like, we're going to give you a New York strip. Not quite a ribeye, but it's a steak. So, and we'll even go this far. It's not a choice steak. It's a prime cut. So we've got a decent card next week. So this week, guess what? Sorry. Because we had to buy steak next week, you have to eat gruel this week. That's just how that works.
Yeah, I agree. We got steak next weekend, so ain't no money for fun this week for sure in the UFC. I will say I agree with you. I don't understand how the fuck Chris Duncan got this fight to begin with. I know how Renato Moicano got this fight, and that's the same way that he got that fight for the belt that he shouldn't probably have gotten. It's because Renato Moicano has the most valuable ability any fighter can have, at least if you're in the UFC: availability. Because when the UFC calls, if you say yes, they don't care how short notice it is. They like people that just say, yes, we will take whatever you're throwing to us whenever you throw it to us. That's why they love Cowboy Cerrone so fucking much. That's why they love Renato Moicano so much. Unfortunately, it might not be in his benefit once again this weekend, but we'll see. That being said, that will bring us to the only segment of the show that does require its own individual disclaimer. So, if you will. Tapology.com in no way, shape, or form supports, sponsors, or endorses the I'm No Joe podcast. Yet. That being said, Tapology does allow you to go onto their site, make a free account, and make fantasy-style MMA picks like we do here on the show. They even let you make groups there, so we made one. It's called I'm No Bookie, all one word, or Group 965, however you need to find it. The group is open to the public. You are welcome and encouraged. Make yourself an account, join the group, and let us know who you are, and we will hold your picks accountable with ours in a segment that we call Tapology with TJ.
All right, we're back again. And I want to start this off by saying, stop being a bunch of cheap bitches. Tapology is absolutely free. If you want to be a cheap bitch, come over and join us. Even if you don't want to be a cheap bitch, come over and join us. It's absolutely free. Group 965, I'm No Bookie. You know where to find us. Let me see how your picks rank up against ours. And I'll let you know, this week was a fucking rough week for a lot of us. Only about half of us were above the 50% mark. To be fair, a lot of fights played out very weirdly this week. In fact, could have went the wrong way had some people not stepped in and said, no, that's not who the correct winner of that fight is. But when you find yourself a unicorn in the wild and you think, there's no fucking way that I will ever see this again in my entire life. Guess what? You just hit the fucking Powerball. The person who just really hit the Powerball is old Don. He did it again. If you guys don't remember, a week or two ago, Don has two accounts. One on his phone, one on his computer, because he doesn't know how to, he's old and technologia. There's that problem. But anyhow, he managed to put in pics on both his phone and his computer and trip over his dick. He was playing double dutch by himself in the bottom spot on both of his accounts. He took the bottom two spots. Very impressive. Like, that honestly deserves a pat on the back. In fact, the best part is if you add his scores up, they barely would have taken first place this week. Fucking impressive marketing ploy he's got going on over there. I need to ask him what his thing is. Hopefully, him dabbling in the stock market is going a lot better than his Tapology picks. Now, that being said, Christian had a bounce back week. He had a bit of a rough one for a couple of weeks there, and seems to have got his shit together. Took top spot, 8 to 13 correct, 625 points. Well done. Of course, he's not here to get his back patted because, he doesn't want to be here when he gets told he does something good. He only wants to be told when he's cheating off his brother's homework or vice versa. That's all I'm saying.
His fucking perfect pick saved his ass because that motherfucker was this far ahead of me the whole goddamn card, and I screamed about it all fucking night because he hit a bunch of perfects right out the gate and literally held that fucking far in front of me all goddamn night, and I fucking crushed this weekend. God damn it!
Yeah. And, dude, I started off hot, and then the middle of the card just fucking fell apart. Nothing went the way I thought it was going to go, which, to be fair, that happens. Not mad about it. Like, if I look at my lifetime overall picks, I think I'm over 80%. Which, to be honest, there's some days where I think maybe I should go out and do some fucking sports betting because I'd be making a lot of money just fucking betting on this. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't want to fucking risk it on the week that I have a really bad week, and But anyhow, since that's the case here, let's go skip over into our Sprung Grand Prix. Currently, Donna still holding on to the top spot. Because I had a shit week, I went from number 2 to number 3. The meter squeaked by me with 3,475. I am now at 3,420. Oh, by the way, Donna had 3,795. So we have 300 and change points between us to catch up. I am also tied for third right now with Christian at 3,420. And been dogging to nobody's surprise because River Tour's been showing up hot. Don is holding down that bottom spot there. You know what? Maybe that's why. Because him and Donna are married. Maybe they have to have a yin and yang thing going on in the house. One's got to be the top dog, one's got to be the bottom. Is he a bottom bitch?
I
I don't
mean,
know.
he has the apron.
That very well could be the case. But anyhow, we don't have a lot of time to catch up. There are only two events left in this Spring Grand Prix, which is this weekend's black card, and then UFC 327, the numbered event, not the paid per view because they're not paid per view, and they're in Miami. Wonder if that $50,000 fucking dummy is gonna be in the crowd there. More than likely. Actually, no, that would be great. Because who else lives in Miami? Street Jesus. Let those two square up in there. Come on. Let it happen, boys. Fucking right there. Just throw them into the cage. Fuck it. Get it done and get it over with. Anyhow, that's where we're at this week. Again, if you haven't joined Tapology, it's free. We know you like free stuff. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching us, listening to us on your platform of choice. But if you are a member of the Patreon, which is scrolling down below, hint, hint, thank you. But still, you too should come over and join Tapology. Now, on to the next one here, which is going to be our odds for the week. I'm going to choose a very strange one that I haven't fucking used before, just because it's funny that they are now posting fight odds. And it's very new to the bookie game. I'm sure some of you have heard from them from other, I'll say from influencers. Now, I want to make this very clear. I am not in any way, nor is the I'm No Joe podcast in any shape, form, or fashion affiliated with this. Klashi, the You Can Bet on Anything app, is now taking fight bets by the looks of it because they have their own. So we're going to use theirs. However, I am going to caveat that with the using FanDuels on a couple of these just so you can see how much of a difference the odds are between them and you can tell that they're fairly new to the whole fight game. Because there's some crazy fucking odds on this card. And when I say crazy, I mean fucking crazy. So let's get into this here and the I'm just gonna hit some mediocre odds first, and I'm saying mediocre very lightly here. We're gonna start with the Alessandro Costa and Stuart Nicoli. Costa coming in as a minus 382 favorite on Closhi, a plus 330 underdog in Stewart. Now, if we look at that side by side with FanDuel, Stuart Nickel, a plus 320. So his odds are a little bit better there, not much. Alessandro Costa, a minus 430 favorite on FanDuel. So what that's telling me right now is Kalashi, because they're new to the fight game, their bookies with fighting might not be as good or not as willing to make that big gap because they're going to lose some money or they're risking more money than they would like to risk. This is why we always tell you, if you're going to bet, check around first. Now, let's start getting into some of these wider odds here. Amzat Bukayev and Treyshawn Gore. Bukayev, minus 611 favorite over a plus 425, or excuse me, 455 underdog per Kalashi. So that makes sense. Now, side by side with FanDuel, Bukayev, I'm minus 650, slightly better odds. Treyshawn Gore, a plus 440, slightly better odds. It's going to pay out more on that one. However, yeah, that one's not as far off as one of these next ones that I'm about to mention and blow everybody's fucking mind with, because they get fucking wild here. Let's start with this one because this is not the wildest of the odds, but it's up there. Malono Zesheni, I'm probably martyring his fucking name. We're just calling him Manolo. That works for me. And Tommy McMillan. McMillan coming in as a minus 970 favorite over a Manolo and a plus 754. That's via Kalashi. Here's where shit gets wild, and the odds are completely different. FanDuel, Tommy McMillan, next to his 970. At FanDuel, he is a minus 1600 favorite. Manolo, a plus 820 underdog, whereas before he was a 745 or 754 underdog. Is that some crazy shit or what? But it gets better. Oh, it gets so much better. Because the widest odds on the card go to the Abdul Rahman Yakayev and Brenson Ribeiro. Yakayev, a minus 1240 favorite on Kalashi. Ribeiro, a plus 942 underdog on Kalashi. Now, we're going to start with the underdog because it's not as big of a change on FanDuel. From 942, Ribeiro goes to a plus 920 underdog. Here's where your big boost comes in. Abdul goes from a minus 1240 on Kalashi to a minus 2,000 on FanDuel. Vastly different. Now, I'm going to make a small side note on this because even in other areas, that changes a little bit. For the most part, almost every place I looked, whether it be BetRiver, Betway, Unibet, and a couple others that I looked at, have Abdul as a minus 2,000 favorite. Caesar's not so graceful, but not as graceful as Kalashi is. Caesar's has only got him at a minus 1600. Now, here's where this gets crazier because this one just blows my mind. Bet Bet River and Unibet on the underdog, Brendan Riviera, whereas he was a plus 940 or a plus 920 on FanDuel, they have him as a plus 1100 on Bet River and Unibet, respectively. So, I'm always telling you odds will vary depending on where you're at. When they're this big of differences, when the odds are already that wide, it pays to shop around, especially if you are a betting man. And of course, whatever's available in your area, because it does vary by state, country, all of that shit. Now, I'm not telling you to bet, but if you do when you win big, you know where to slang it. You can slang it right down here to the Patreon. If you want to throw a couple extra bucks my way, feel free. However, I'm not telling you to bet. If you do, don't bet the house. Now, as always, we're going to hit the most boring part of this. The co-main and the main. They're absolute coin flips. Tabitha Ricci, Myrna Jandaroba. Jandaroba, a minus 128 favorite. Tabitha Ricci, a plus 104 underdog. Absolute coin flip. Another coin flip. Christopher Duncan, or Chris Duncan, excuse me. He's not a Christopher, he's just a Chris. Renato Moicano. Moicano, a plus 145 underdog. Chris Duncan, a minus 176 favorite. And that's via Kalashi. So, it's pretty wild that these odds are so fucking close in the co-main and main. And then you have these stupidly, wildly crazy wide odds on the rest of the card. So take that as what you will. If you're gonna bet, do it responsibly. If you bet the house and lose it all, don't say I didn't warn you. But if you bet the house and win it all, you know where to go. If we had any small impact on that whatsoever, which to be fair, all I did was read you some odds and tell you shop around. But if you shopped around and you made a couple extra bucks, kick it our way. We'd appreciate it. We won't tell you no. But that's all I got this week.
Thank you very much, sir. Always appreciated. That is going to be all we have got as a show for this week. So, first and foremost, if you are new around here, thank you for tuning in. We appreciate it. We try and do the show pretty much every Thursday night when there are fights to talk about from that weekend. We try and go live around 9 p.m. ish Central Standard Time. We do go live both on youtube.com/@I'mNoJoe and dual stream to twitch.tv/I'mNoJoe. So that way you can catch it whatever is easiest for you. We do leave the replays up on both platforms as long as they're allowed to stay up there so you can catch the replay either side, whatever works best for you. If you don't want to catch the replay and you didn't catch us live on purpose, I understand that as well because we also own mirrors. For that reason, the week after we go live, we put the all audio version up over on anchor.fm/I'mNoJoe. You can pick that up to your podcast consumption platform of choice. Google, Apple, Spotify, whatever you use, it's all through there. It is all free, just like the YouTube show is. That being said, if you like what we get up to around here, first and foremost, subscribe, turn your notifications on so you don't miss an episode. Give us a thumbs up. It really does help out the show. I'm not going to give you that spiel that YouTube bitches about how many people that watch aren't subscribed. I don't give a shit. If you like it, subscribe. We appreciate it. If you really like what we get up to around here and you want to help us do what we do, the best way to do that, like TJ mentioned earlier, patreon.com/I'mNoJoe. For as little as $1 a month, as much as you are comfortable giving, every dollar helps us do what we do around here. And in exchange for that, first and foremost, every patron gets their name put on the end of every broadcast on this channel to let everyone know how fucking awesome you are for helping us. But for more than that, all of the unaired, the unairable, the behind the scenes, the nonsense that doesn't make it to camera is all over on the Patreon. All of the shit that got us kicked off of OnlyFans on the podcast, that's over on Patreon. Not to mention, we also have Patreon exclusive content. For those of you who are giving, and we appreciate that, we also put out content just for you guys as well. So if that's something you are interested in, make sure to head on over there and check that out. That being said, even though he is not here this evening because he had to work, tomorrow and pretty much every Friday, the kid will be putting out his podcast with his other half over on Spreaker.com, the Slow Bake and Contemplate podcast. So you got to go over there and make sure you check out his shit, his links to all their socials and their podcast, as well as their I'm No Joe Discord server channel, all for them, all down below. Just the same, I think you were out of time for this year, but even so, you could still go over to Golf T's YouTube channel. The link is down in the description, whether you're watching or listening to this. Subscribe to the channel, because even though he's not doing weekly shows anymore, there are still a couple in the works to drop down the pipeline, as well as our annual fundraiser to help kids get bikes. I think it's too late to cash in on that one for now, but you can still subscribe to make sure you get notified next time that comes around.
Thank you, sir. And you are indeed correct. That ship has fucking sailed. I dropped off, for the first time ever, I actually dropped off bikes to a family. To be honest, I didn't like it. I'll be fair. I think it's because I don't want to be the face. I like to be that behind the scenes person and know that somebody's going to enjoy it. But I had to do it because somebody didn't have access to a truck. And as you guys know, had tricycles built, 2 of them. Both of those tricycles took up the entire bed of my truck, and I had to throw a bike rack onto the hitch of my truck to put the fucking mountain bike that was going to the same family, because they had 2 disabled children and one one able-bodied kid. So took them all 3, and being the face, not my thing. I'd rather be behind the camera lens, except for in this case. Now, instead of talking about myself, I need to tell you, there's a lot of time between now and next week, Thursday. If you don't know what to do with your time, the meter does many things. In fact, go down and click on the meter does many things, or Linktree /I'm No Joe. Either one of those will take you to each and every one of the many things that the meter does do. And maybe you like to feel a little different from time to time, we'll call it. Well, I know a guy who will tell you what products are worth your time and are going to make you feel the way you want to feel based on how you're feeling at this very moment. So, leave it down below, click those. Who knows? Maybe you'll catch all the buzz around it that we've all seen.
Thank you very much, sir. Very appreciated. If you do find yourself a fan of Satan's Jazz Cabbage, then definitely make sure to go hit that other link. There is new content coming up in just a couple days, and there is a potentially big announcement. We just had some fun on a live stream a couple days doing dabs and Legos. It was a good fucking time. There's more of that coming up as well. So if that strikes your fancy, definitely hit that link. If you are just here for the punchy kicky, that is perfectly fine as well. Hit the other one. Everything I'm No Joe is on that other link. Either way, we appreciate you just the same. But that is all we have got for this particular episode. So until next time, boys and girls, don't let ignorance stop you. You can root for anything.
Everybody was kung fu fighting. Those kids were fast as lightning. In fact, it was a little bit frightening. How do I say goodbye to what we had? The good times that made us laugh.